fishy on the IRC room. As you heard Mariano's talk earlier, was talking about behaviors. They have a lot of really cool like functionality you can add to just like different types of models to make them do crazy and strange things. Yeah, super bad. So I'm going to talk about this new behavior that I just wrote that automatically versions your data. So some companies are required to keep, a history of pretty much everything, and especially like medical companies, they're required by law to keep a record of every single data that they have. So it kind of can be a total pain in the ass, especially when you're doing things manually or whatever. So I made this new behavior that automatically does most of the work. Real quick, I've been using PHP since 2000 or so, CakePHP for a year and a half. Before I ever wrote a line of CakePHP, I wrote the Oracle driver. Like everyone said before, Cake really seemed to be like right along there, and I was like, shit, I want to use this, but there's no driver, what do I do? So I spent a week writing a piece of crap driver that still works, and I'm really excited about it. I've written set sort, which is kind of fun. You can like resort multi-dimensional model results. ACL plugin, which is just real small and easy. Various patches, tests, and I do the show, and we're going to do a show later, probably out in the lobby or something, and just have like a round robin. Yeah, it's going to be fun. And I work at the Broad Institute, which is like a scientific research institute that studies human genomes and shit. But, so it sounds like it's Cake, and I'm using Cake in my newest project. And I do it every single day, and that's how I find the things that are wrong with Cake, especially things that are good with Cake. It's working for me, so I like it. Right, here, so turn this into a bullet point for me. Okay, why would I use the version behavior? We have to track history, versions, revisions, auditing accountability. You want to be able to find out who made a change to what database record when. Be the first in your block to offer undo functionality for web apps. If you have all data in the past, obviously you can make it present data again. So if you make a mistake, or someone makes a mistake, you can like revert, like you couldn't in Subversion, but with your data. Sounds analogous. Abuse your whining clients. Some people ask for it, and you're just like, shit, I don't really want to make something that like hard. It sounds hard, but now you can do it. And you'd like to waste at least a petabyte before the end of the year. It saves everything. It doesn't bother like do sorts of complicated math and only save diffs or whatever. I mean, my philosophy on databases is that the database should know everything. Don't hide it. Don't serialize PHP objects and store them in databases unless you really need to. People are going to want to run reports on historical or temporal data. So let them put the stuff in the database, save it all, put it somewhere, buy the hard drive. Jesus. When I made this, I wanted to make it really easy to install. I wanted you to be able to plug it right into existing apps. So there's actually another version behavior out there that Andy Dawson wrote, but he took the approach where you put everything in the same table, and everything works on the date the effectivity began and the date the effectivity ended. The problem with that is if you plug, if you try to do that to an existing app, you're going to have to modify all your queries to have conditions that are going to filter through that, all the old stuff. Not to mention, like, you screwed all your primary keys. I put it in the shadow tables. So you don't have to modify the existing ones. You just get to make new ones. And it sounds like a pain in the ass. The biggest pain in the ass of all is if you're going to add a field to one, you have to add a field to another. But, everyone knows that when you're migrating database schemas, you can't just sit there and be brain dead. You actually have to know what you're doing. So kind of like keep an eye on that when you're going to do stuff like that. But hopefully I can make that easy by using migrations or schema, having the shell script that I wrote to create the tables, modify the tables as well. The major point I wanted to do is I didn't really want to write a lot of code because I'm not very smart, so things have to be very simple for me. So I just wanted to make it so it would do a couple things with the behavior and the hooks in Cake, and Cake would actually pull together the rest of the stuff, which is what it's good at doing when you're not breaking it. I also wanted it to work for every association, because why do something half-assed? And it has to behave like any other model. If you can pull a revision of a model. I want to be able to do conditions, limit, order, fields, all that shit. I didn't want to like re-implement it. So my approach was to rewrite the model. We'll get into that. We'll rewrite what the model was reading, and so that all the other methods would still be valid. Like Mariano was talking about before, there's hooks, callbacks in the behavior system. So this is triggered on every insert, update, and delete. Every time it does something, it saves a copy of the new record. The shadow tables always hold all the data. They don't just hold the old data with the regular tables hold just the new data. It actually holds all the data because it's less of a pain in the ass to write code to do. Let's see. So it saves a copy of the new record every time. Uses start and end dates for record lifetime. So the way it finds out what's new and what's old is when it began and when it ended. Now, if you have a birth date and you have a death date, we know when your lifetime was. Like I said, it rewrites the model to find out, to use it to the tables. Okay, does the reconstruction and the finding. Yeah, I just if you keep them in separate tables, you don't have to modify the existing ones. Keep the query on the main table simple. You don't need to modify your code. You can store them on another database server if you want. You can set that in the settings of the behavior if you want to shuttle it off to somewhere else that's faster for you. I don't know. I've never had setups that big, but it is an option. So if it's something you need to do, you can. I'll go into the shell in a second. I only add 3 fields when I'm actually duplicating the table. It's just a version ID, just to have a unique ID. I don't currently use it for anything, but it's nice to have a name. And the effective dates are the things that are added to the shadow tables. The features of this is it comes with the shell, it comes with the behavior. The behavior has methods to retrieve the historical data, just a couple of them, it's not very complicated. I started working on a scaffold web interface so that as the revisions are already created, you can go to a specific URL, shows you all the revisions, or all the model records. It tells you how many revisions each one has. You click on that, and it shows you all the revisions of that, and you can promote them or do whatever you want. But I'm actually not showing that today, or the helper. It's just something that I have in mind. You need at least CakePHP 1.2, around 6424, which was, I don't know, last week, Tuesday, 6 o'clock or something. I haven't really pinpointed it, I was like right around there. But someone on IRC was bitching about something, and I needed a way to detach a behavior, because if you call from within a behavior the same model with another behavior, it's almost like calling request action until you're like puking and falling on the ground. So, yeah. So with the model attach and detach, you're able to detach the stuff from the inside if you need it. So that was done, last Tuesday at 6 o'clock. PHP 4 or 5, no problem. And any database that CakePHP supports, I think I'm guessing that you can test it. So the installation is pretty simple. I have the subversion address up here, but I've been patiently waiting for Nate to fix, or to create the plugin system, and then you'll just be able to do whatever install just plugin. But that's the address. So you just check out the package to the app plugins directory. I forgot to change this, but we fixed this here at CakeFest. You can run shells out of plugins now, but you have to be in the app directory. So if you're in the app directory and you just call cake version, it'll actually should give you a command list and everything. So that's not true if you want to have still to be done, but whatever, easy ones, I guess. And then you just add the behavior to your app model. Very easy. Access version.version. Version's the plugin name, and version is also the behavior name. Mariano wants me to change it to versionable, so it could be version.versionable. But you can create a shadow table for every model you would like to track, but you don't have to. I mean, even though we add the behavior to all of the models, it's not going to bitch at you. You can add it to all of them, and if you only have a shadow table for 2, it's not going to complain about it. Just for ease of use. And once you add the behavior, and once you make the shadow tables, and you push it to production, it's already saving data. So, this is part of the CakePHP console. This is the shell that I made. If you go into Cake console Cake, you call VersionShadow, you get this fancy thing. And I didn't really have to do much here. All this was already made for me. This was a model task, so I just said, which model do you want to create a shadow for? And this model task just says, pick a table, or pick a model. And then it just creates the shadow table. So it doesn't modify your existing schema, just add them to. Once you have all the versioning underway, and you have it installed, the next thing to do is to want to get the data back, right? So there's a couple ways to do this. My next slide is the way I had originally intended to make. I wanted to make it super easy to put it as a find condition, but you can call this person find array date yesterday, and if it has the condition date, then it does all the magic that rewrites the tables for you. I don't know how great it is to use the word date, because maybe, I guess it gets intercepted or whatever, but I'm not sure if it's whatever. But this is the quickest way to do it. You can do this person find date yesterday, and it retrieves all the records and their associations from yesterday, which is very specific with yesterday. Or you can put in database dates. These are straight to time valid dates. Or you can put in timestamps, so it's pretty flexible in that regard. Yeah, what it does actually is when you call this person find date, it calls my actual revision method internally. But you can also do it yourself. And what happens is, if you say this person revision yesterday or any date or any timestamp or whatever, it actually returns a rewritten model that you can use for the duration of your script, so it's not constantly rewriting stuff because it's kind of an expensive process to do so. So you can actually have the model kept around if you want to do a couple of things with it. And if you dig object chain, it's kind of cool because it returns a model, you can also do other operations on it. So you can say this person revision 1 week ago, find all. How cool is that, right? Is there any questions so far? When you do that, this is doing many records at a given date and time. So you're asking for everything from yesterday. So it's going to return just like a numerically indexed array. And it just like, I don't really have a lot of space. It's really big. But it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. And would have all of your associated models, person, profile, has and belongs to many models and everything. So you're getting every record from yesterday with all their associations. You don't have to. Because this is a find all, you can set conditions or whatever. You don't have to retrieve everything. So it's flexible in that way as well. If you don't want to look at more than one record, but you actually want to just look at a single record and all the revisions that it's had, you can call history. It also accepts the find parameter style. So say, if you wanted to find out how many times I had this favorite song, like if I keep loading up some page and changing something in my associations, and then every day I change my song, but my favorite song, but I come back to it and I have the favorite song again, this is going to retrieve all the days that I had that stored, right? So I'm going to say this person, history, the primary key number, whatever that record may be, and then the find conditions array, favorite song, Mr. Brightside. You can also limit the results. This person ID, no, and then limit equals 1 for the first one. You can also get history since a date. Since the shadow tables have those 2 dates in them, all you gotta do is know the names of the fields in there. I call them VB date start, VB version behavior, just in case there was columns in existing tables that already were called date start for your own purposes. So you can say this person history primary key since this date, VB date start, greater than. So it'll bring back everything. And you can mix those together too. You can put limit and all of them together. I just put it here for separate. And that's going to return a keyed array based on the date that any of the associations were modified. So it's going to be 2008, February 3rd at this time, It doesn't show you what changed. That's something that either you can program yourself or I'm going to work on some sort of different tool for it. But currently, it just shows like, if I changed anything, like my name, actually this doesn't show anything that's changed. Those are kind of a bad example. But if anything has changed within any of the associations, it's going to give it a time date. And you're going to be able to iterate through those, and those are going to be, and if you had another field in here called like, who did it? You would know who did it, and that's up to you in your application. It's going to save all the data that you've saved. Easy enough, right? In making this, I kind of realized that it's not as easy as I originally thought it was going to be. There's different, behaviors can do lots of different things. And there's the tree behavior, which I like a lot, and like have been studying, and it is a total pain in the ass, as they said, to deal with NPTT. Especially because the way this is architected is that as it takes the incoming data, it only assumes one record. But tree behavior likes to update every record every time you change something. It's always renumbering the tree. What a total pain in the ass. So I'm going to work on getting that fixed. I'm trying to figure out the best way to make this tree behavior know to wait until tree is done, and then when tree is done, copy that. Because if you have an org unit chart or whatever, just any kind of hierarchy, you also may want to keep versions of that. You might as well provide as much as you can. So you might not get the results you intend right now with tree. So caveat. To make sure you test them. Just cool. Even though it's easy to install, just don't throw a freaking behavior on there and expect it to work. So I'm going to try to make it behave better, like I said. Maybe add a helper, and better diffing tools so that you could say that Jeff changed code by that baby tongue, whatever. But that's kind of pretty application specific, but I could probably create something in general.
I have to do that in my application, so if you did that, that would take care of it.
Yeah, it's awesome. You have to iterate through all these arrays and Jeff changed this. The problem with that, right, is that you may not want to tell your users that your model is called something and that your fields are called VD, this and that and the other thing, right? So you kind of want to be able to map aliases to these columns and tables. So that would kind of be something that I would think about doing. If you're going to instantiate a helper, you'd say, okay, it's going to talk to these specific things. It's going to alias these columns and these tables and these fancy names that people will understand.
Any timeline on that?
Like I said, I made this last weekend. I've been working on it since August. I made the original one. And me and Nate used to travel around here and there. And I was like, man, I need to make a version behavior, And then I made one. But I don't know, I guess I just wasn't paying attention at that time, and I didn't make it work with associations at all. And I was like, wow, that's pretty useless. So now it does. It can detect, well, one thing it does not do is it doesn't do recursive associations yet either. So it only does the first level. It's not going to be that hard to do the recursive ones. I keep coming up with ideas and making this thing. But hopefully the way it will work, and the way it actually does work now on a smaller depth, is that if any particular piece of data changes, it's considered a whole separate revision. And I told you about the web interface that's going to come for free soon, like half the other stuff that's in the slides. That's just going to be able to manage revisions. You're probably not going to want to use it in your regular app. It'll probably just be there for no reason. I don't know, just there. But yeah, I think that's it. Questions?
How do you use the date in? It seems like you could get the information you need with just a single timestamp.
What's that?
You have date start and date end.
Yep.
What's date end for?
What's date end for?
Yeah.
Well, in the table, right, you could have 4 things with the same primary key. So you could have your name and your address, say it wasn't normalized, right? And you change your address 4 times. Well, on all the other records but one, they're going to have start and end dates. You're going to say that started yesterday and ended today. It started a week ago and then do that day, right? But one of the records is going to say I started and then never died. And that's going to be the active one.
Couldn't it just be the one that was timestamped most recently?
I guess. I think it's helpful to be, I think you need both to do it. I don't know. not that smart on the fly. But I think you just need it because like you don't have to just install the models to find it.
What if I don't care about the effective dates and I just want to manage things by version ID?
Well, how would you like to manage them?
Just keep old versions and be able to browse them and promote them to the most current.
Yeah, you would need them. I mean, everything has a unique identifier, so if you were to create an interface for the shadow table data, everything would have a unique identifier, and you could search by, you know, if you wanted to see all the revisions of that one model, then you can see and say, oh, that's number 4, and then, you know, you could promote it yourself, or you could try to beg me or write a method for it or something.
Yeah, write me a method.
I know I do that to him all the time. I'm like, dude, you're broken, fix it.
Are you going to include a plugin?
What's that?
Using a plugin system? Revisions and all the plugins?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. It works so far. I wrote this for work, obviously, but I like to share. But I haven't pushed it to production yet. So this is very like alpha stuff. So I'm going to put these slides up somewhere, and you guys are welcome to check it out. And I'd love some feedback because maybe there's some things I haven't thought of and some cases in which it wouldn't work. So.
Can you shadow specific tables, or is it the entire database?
Nope, you pick one at a time. So you add your behavior. You can begin the shadow, and you can make a shadow table, and it will begin to. When it makes the shadow table, it copies all the other data into it. Like I said, lots of space, things taken out. But at least it knows that at that time it was revision number 1 when you decided to start, and it will tell you when you decided to start revision. But yeah, you can pick them separately.
You can't do a specific field to change, and it's based on just the row.
Well, you can, and this is a problem that Ryan had, is that if you save, which you should be doing, and always telling save which field you want to use. You know why? You know the second parameter to save? The second parameter to save is the fields in which you want to save. And that actually stops SQL injection, right? Because like, if you have like some field in your model that says admin and it's a Boolean, yeah, and someone like alters your form and you're not using the security component and you don't specify which fields are going to go in, it's going to set admin equal to 1, yes? That's true.
For what?
Like if you're saving and you don't like pick all the fields that are going to be saved into
The whitelist.
Yeah, if you don't use a whitelist or the
It's the
security
third parameter.
component, people
Oh, third
can
parameter, right.
specify arbitrary fields.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. So it's good to use the whitelist parameter, and I bet who uses it here? You know, you guys are more secure than everyone else, right? Someone, if you're not using, especially if you're not using security components, someone can tamper with your forms, guess your field names, and set shit in your database you never know. So the problem with that is if you do use that whitelist with this, it doesn't get all the data characters. That was an error on my part, and someone pointed that out earlier. And I'm probably going to make it, I'm just going to make it so it grabs the old record. I'm going to make it operate a little differently. Right now it's broken in that regard if you're using the whitelist. But it needs to save all the fields because it's easier to have the data and rows and to have SQL that manipulates it quickly if there's more data there, right? Because if it just had the divs, it would have to like iterate through all that shit and like build that stuff.
Well, if they update triggering on certain fields, or like Oracle, for instance, you know, triggers you take the performance of certain fields and they're updated. So, for example, like at a status field, I don't care what the other fields they change. I just keep the string
I want to be able to
on that row. On a row, just that field change.
Sure. I mean, I guess that wouldn't be too hard. I could add a whitelist config into version behavior. It currently does it by accident, or not intentionally, but I could make it intentionally. I mean, theoretically, right? You could just use the whitelist under saves and that functionality config and then it fixes it. I can make that operational.
Yeah, use whitelist or something as a
Yeah.
Is it the data that should be
This? Field name date. Yeah, it doesn't work. So either I have to make this configurable in the behavior. So you can make
Can you somehow do like behavior equals version, or like you set it up somehow? You know, so it's only grabbing your language. VersionShadow.
That's what this is. If you call this person revision yesterday, this is the way it was originally intended to be made. Right. This is the first method I made. So if you call this person revision yesterday, it rewrites the tables that all the models are going to use. It automatically adds the conditions to check. There's an array called conditions on each associated model. And it inserts two conditions, one to look in between the data. So when you call this person revision, it rewrites that for you and sets it to version. Once you have version, you're reading from the shadow tables, so you can perform any model operation.
Sure. But I'm just saying, when you're up above on the fine level, if you somehow make it just a handler, or if you say behavior equals version, then it gives you that. So you don't have to, so you can use it up on top of the fine level without messing with
The date key?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is essentially that. You're requesting something to happen. If you're setting a property and then calling a method, then you're still requesting something to happen. So this is actually much more concise. It's one line.
Yeah. Right.
And it's even, even if you wanted to use it at the final level, this is one line of code.
Yeah.
So this would be really, really useful, and that's there's an issue of price cost of name.
Right.
I have got some projects and pretty much did it this way, and every time somebody changes the price, I don't know what the screens, so the value from daytime to daytime. There's an important idea to limit so many different types of things like that have monetary value use, which attributed to them. This is really useful for that. So when you go to look up an order or a booking or something, they cannot look at the current price and then that order was imposed on. You have to look at the price that it was at, where that person made it or made the order. Right? So that would be really useful.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Versioning. This is the kind of thing I want to check. And yeah, I mean, and once you have it, it's a model rewritten. The model join the shit.
What kind of percentage test coverage?
What's that?
What kind of test coverage?
100%, man.
I just grabbed it for tests, and I don't see any.
It's so new. Like I've tested revision to do a couple different scenarios, and I've written for history as well. But all my tests passed. There's like 24 of them. But there's obviously none of those.
If it's possible to do it with one date, that would be really great because then you can store it in an archive table in MySQL. Which would be awesome.
An archive table is a MySQL specific thing or something.
Yeah, I think so. You have that.
Okay.
But I imagine other databases have some. I have Postgres, but
What's do you know the advantages of an archive table?
it's read only and it's compressed, I believe.
Wicked.
You have to use cascade delete, right, for this to work. I assume that automatically picks up all the cascade delete.
Right, cascade deletes. So the thing is that this behavior is attached to every model. So the idea is that, delete is called, even delete I think is just a cycle, or is it delete from? I can't remember.
It depends on if you enable callbacks or not.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. There's probably some known issues, and that's the thing, that's why I can only think so far. But ideally, the behavior is set for every model, and then before all that stuff is called, it really should shuttle off the data and fix the end date before it gets deleted. So I can't definitively, I don't have a test case for that.
This looks great. Of course, when I'm using NODB tables, and then I decided what the database do is cascade and deletes rather than cake handle it.
Okay. Yeah, you can disable that. This doesn't make you do anything like that.
Well, if you did a delete on author and all the posts went with it in the database,
That's not my behavior's problem.
right, exactly.
No, it doesn't do that. It doesn't delete it. I mean,
But it does handle it if cake is handling the cascade delete.
right, but if you turn off cascade deletes, yeah, I think it does. I don't have test cases for that, so I'll pass this.
That would be a good reason for me to change my plan. Go back to like cake handle, cascade releases.
In Oracle, what an ass pan, right? In Oracle, I made it so that everything cascaded over itself. I don't trust Cake to do cascade. Sorry.
I was just trying to look, but I couldn't tell offhand. Do you make sure that the date start timestamp is the same across all models that are being saved at the same time? Because if you have a really big change, that might span
so.
second.
I think so.
Yeah, it's the same field, it's just
I think I'm keeping it like right in the after fine, and then it like passes that date to the next thing. But
I think you're right, it's just a single date you keep as it.
Yeah.
The other day.
I think I just like had to go in and pick one and go. But one thing I did do is like when it puts one record to rest and activates another, it's just like off by a second. And I was going to use micro time, but it was kind of overkill, and I couldn't read the results. So I'd be looking at like this array, and I was like, what the hell is 16964? I don't know. I'd like look at the last four numbers, but it was confusing me, so I put them back to regular dates, and I think that might be even more efficient than the database storage alternative.
Beautiful.